I'm Romanus Opio. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, University of Nairobi. The topic I'm going to address today is on the mobile banking and how it addresses financial inclusivity and development of African cities. So what I want to put across is that mobile banking has led to greater financial inclusion, and when I'm talking about inclusion, whose needs are not met by the ordinary banking system. And then also mobile banking is also enhancing more interaction between the city residents and service providers. So even the service providers are now in a position to reach out to them, the underserved, especially the urban poor who are normally not served by the ordinary banking. So mobile banking is revolutionary in terms of it addresses the issue of revenue collection and also the payment platforms. Some of the aspects which has enabled mobile banking to have a revolutionary impact in Kenya or in African cities is that the issue first of the access to mobile telephony or to mobile communication, which is actually serving as a conduit to banking, is also saving wasted travel times, because now in your seat you are able to do a lot of transactions. So you don't have to move. So in terms of the cost of mobility, it really reduces the cost for movement. Also, it's also provide information about prices for various services, which I think is also critical, so that you are able now to budget and know what kind of services you can go for. So, and mobile banking is therefore critical for most of our cities' development by providing these particular services which previously were not provided. In terms of just appreciating statistics in terms of the banking situation here. Previously, in terms of banking, it was noted that around 30% of African city residents have bank accounts. So this is very limited in terms of, so the 70% were totally underserved. Yeah? But with the mobile banking, this has grown to 73%. You don't have to have any bank account, but they're able to do transaction using the mobile banking for different services, which is actually leapfrog from the underserved to now the current status, where you have over 70% of the population being able to transact using their mobile banking. It has also looking at in terms of transaction and register the number of mobile banking. For example, there are some statistics which shows that for the East Africa, the mobile money accounts in East Africa in the year 2021 is around 296 million, which is around 300 million, which is a big number. For coming, maybe looking at the situation in Kenya, we have the M-Pesa customers in the year 2022, the early year 2022, it was accounted around 52 million. So if you look at the population of Kenya, it's estimated around 50, we have 52 million registered, meaning that there are people even have more than one line for the M-Pesa transaction. If you look at regionally, in terms of the East Africa and Central Africa, we also look at the MTN, the mobile money, the MOMO. In 2021, we had around 51.1 million, which is actually a big number in terms of people who are now coming to this system or this platform where they are now able to engage in mobile banking. So we are now also looking at that in terms of mobile banking is changing how people deposit cash into a virtual wallet, and this is great because using your mobile, you are now able to deposit cash in your virtual wallet. And then also how people are using these funds for payments and purchases for even basic services like water, electricity, waste management. You are now able to make payments and make purchases, and even food stuff you are able now to use these particular services. And many local authorities and cities are now using this platform for payment for parking services, for other basic services, land rates, and others. Yeah. So also another magic which is revolutionary in terms of associating mobile banking technology with the development in Africa is the ability to use the platform for saving and also for loaning. And we have the M1C2 where you can also save your money using the Safaricom platform, and you have the Fuliza where you can also loan resources for you to address your basic needs or your immediate need or emergency. It's a real transformation which actually impacts on people's lives and how they access basic services, different basic services in Africa. So Africa Africa Development Bank have also given some statistics where they say that, that Sub-Saharan Africa has the lowest deposit institution penetration in the world. We stand at an average of 16.6% compared with the global, the developing countries, which is 16.5%, which is a worry in terms of how people are using banking services. So looking at the limited access to financial services, which stems from physical, geographical isolation or inaccessibility. So the mobile banking is trying to fill in this gap because we know our infrastructure condition, we are not able to access all the services. And because of the low level of banking registration by most African residents and citizens in the cities, so you find the bank does not have an appetite to expand most of these branches to those areas, so they're able to do that. And also because people now can direct control of their money, they can check their balances using the mobile banking services. So it's really changing how even the value and the position of banking in Africa. Now we are saying that mobile banking is actually banking closer to the people or to the users. So in terms of looking at mobile banking and service delivery, I've highlighted that most of the city service delivery are actually now on the digital banking platform, where you can now pay for services within using a pay bill number or a specific number which the local authority or the city authorities are able to give out for sharing, and now people are able to pay for water bills, for their parking, and all other manner of services provided by the city. So this enables the service providers to be compliant, because they are able now, they don't have to waste time queuing to pay for these particular services. And especially people living with a disability, the vulnerables, now they are able to do this without having to use a broker to go and queue for him or for her to pay for those particular services, which is actually inclusionary. If you look at from the city perspective or from the local authority perspective, so mobile banking is also transforming the revenue collection by now reaching out to people who previously were not able to use these particular services. So in terms of land rates, people are able to pay their land rates. They're also able to pay for other services, including the permits, the business permits, the market permits, and all manner of licenses. They are able now to use the mobile banking platform, and they're able to pay and get the services. So it's really changing how we are doing things. Even if you look at outside the cities, even the agencies like insurance, now they don't have to work to an insurance company to buy your premium. You can use the mobile banking services and get your insurance cover using your phone. Also, looking at the urban poor, and here I'm looking at the micro and small enterprises, which you know that most of the micro and small enterprises are the backbone of our cities. So by using mobile banking, by this particular cadre of traders, then we are able now to transform the city and also engage in more trading than before. So the informal traders are able to trade and even order for goods and services using their mobile banking platform, which is really changing how we are doing things. And even look at things like ATM, milk ATM, people are able to use that. You don't have to hire up somebody. So in terms of the cost of business, it's also lowering cost of business for them. In terms of looking at the water security and cleanliness and hygiene, we have now a water token where a resident, an informal settlement resident, is just able to buy the token using the mobile banking, and now they're able to access clean and safe water at a lower cost, like before, where they have to queue and get water which is very uncompromised. Then they cannot even know the state and the quality of that. So the water token payment is also bringing the inclusiveness and also creating hygiene, and also in terms of reduction of waterborne diseases in this particular informal settlement. And that can explain the magic why we didn't have more cases of COVID-19 in informal settlement, because the government in collaboration with the county government, they provide the water using this water ATM, which has really transformed how they access and the quality of water in this particular area. At transport level, we have the e-hailing services. We have the Ubers, we have the Bolt, which are global and also in Africa, and also we have specific city e-hailing services, like Wasili when you're in Nakuru, and Rift Valley, and part of outside Nairobi, which is actually the e-hailing services. So this has provided a solution to people who want to move from one corner to another. So you don't have to walk long distance to access a physical taxi, but from where you are able to get a taxi. A taxi here can either be a motor vehicle, can also be a motorcycle. So, and options of mobility for most of the people who are moving around from point A to point point B. And then also during the pandemic, we know that there were a lot of lockdown and also in terms of regulations which were inhibiting movement. So through mobile banking, people were able, during COVID, to do a lot of transaction, the contactless pipe payments. You can order for something and you get it from your home without necessarily going to the market, and you avoid the contact. So this actually also made a lot of contribution in terms of including people who are not well served by services and also are able now to meet their basic services through the mobile banking platform. So in terms of conclusion, I want to pick 3 issues. That one, that mobile banking in Africa does not only facilitate access to services, but also improves the issue of transparency, the issue of accountability, and more importantly, citizen engagement. Yeah, because transparent in the form how the services are being offered by the local authorities and even the government services, yeah? Including the National Transport and Safety Authority. You're able to engage and pay using the platform, and you're able now to follow even how your services is being offered. And also in terms of citizen engagement, you're able to know what's happening. At times even the citizens are also engaged by survey. You find there's a survey by a service provider where they can now echo and also vent out their issues to the service provider. Secondly, that with the high mobile penetration, we say is an asset in overcoming the challenges of poor infrastructure, because we know the challenge in Africa, we are not able to access most of the facilities and services. So with the mobile banking, we are able now to access those services without having to use the bumpy roads or non-existent roads to access the services. So this one, the high mobile penetration, is a cornerstone of how we can address the issue of infrastructure. So lastly, the urban poor and the vulnerable urban community are also able to enjoy various services through use of mobile payment services. Thank you.